Hello, greetings and blessings, beautiful soul. This is Alicia. I am Barney Matahari, and I am back today again with another pick a card reading. Today we are looking at and asking your higher self and your guides, who are you shadowboxing at this current time? And for those of us on the spiritual path, that's part of doing our shadow work. Pile number 1, we've got these beautiful earrings. They're the Clara symbol, and I like to wear them in this pair. One is an emerald, one is a ruby, and the emerald goes on the left side in this particular pair, and the ruby goes on the right side. So that is pile number 1. Pile number 2, we've got this gorgeous silver chain, which is holding on it, suspending on it, this beautiful amethyst that's surrounded by tiny, tiny little diamonds. And pile number 3, we've got this beautiful black pearl ring. And it's got what is like a melted heart in it, the setting. There you go. So whichever pile is for you, take a moment, meditate, take a full breath, pause the video if you wish, and I am going to get started with pile number 1. I'm going to pop your marker up here, and we'll look at your nakshatra card first. Kritika, beautiful. The one who cuts Aries into Taurus, card number 3. And I'm hearing that Della Soul song. 3 is the magic number. Oh, blast from the past, old school. And we've got Pleiades here, the peacock. That always reminds me of Kuan Yin, actually. And we'll pop your nakshatra card here. From the Sacred Geometry Activations Oracle, we've got Tantric Journey. The frequency of Tantric Journey helps us to unlock the hidden knowledge and wisdom that we intrinsically hold about how to reach a state of wholeness and completion through our sensual experiences with ourselves and with another. This is so beautiful. And look at these gorgeous colors. We've got the upright triangle and the downright triangle, and that's representative of the masculine energy and the feminine energy. And look at all of this beautiful orange surrounded by this gorgeous purples and blues, sacral chakra. And then for me, the throat chakra really is the gateway to, well, not just for me, but for many, the gateway through to the other side, I guess, it's the first chakra of the ethers. And interestingly enough, I'm seeing that very much repeated at the center of this feather. And the feather is a very spiritual symbol. Also, you can think of Mayat, where the hearts are weighed before going on to the next, I guess, incarnation. And if the heart is deemed to be pure, lighter than a feather, very, very interesting symbology here. So and all this fire, really significant of the purification process. And of course, Aries into Taurus, that's fire into earth. So you've got masculine into feminine. So you've got that interplay here too. But Aries is very much, it's ruled by Mars, which is associated with the body. And Aries is I am, and Taurus is I have. And Taurus rules over the throat and the neck, and Aries rules over the head and the face. And then you've got the tantric here, which is reminding me of the very K2, like coming up through the body. And Aries is very significant of the body. So, oh my goodness. From this, these are vibrational energy oracle cards, and this is knowing. And that actually, the colors just seem to be echoing here for me very much. And it's interesting that you've got all this sacred geometry. It's reminding me, it's not the same pattern exactly, but it is reminding me of kind of like the tree of life or the flower of life symbol. It's echoing that for me. And also, look, heavenly knowledge, divine knowledge coming down into the head. So I'm really feeling that up through the earth and down, as above, so below. Like I'm just seeing the energy coming from both directions and kind of meeting in the heart center, which is, it's just so beautiful. And dolphin medicine. How gorgeous. Pile number 1. Oh my goodness. The dolphin for me is like a galactic being, for sure. I don't think the dolphin is of this, I guess, of this world. It really reminds me of like the off-world planets, the water planets. Let's just read a little bit about Kritika. So it's the sun is actually assigned to this nakshatra. So it's partly in Aries and partly in Taurus. So Aries is ruled by Mars and Taurus is ruled by Venus. So you've got Sun in Mars and Sun in Taurus. And that makes a lot of sense for someone who is someone who gets involved with Tantra and, consciously gets involved with Tantra. We're actually all involved with Tantra because Tantra is just another lens with which to look through to perceive life, the spiritual journey, the physicality of being incarnate. But it's kind of been, for me, it's really been hijacked by the whole Tantra in the bedroom. But it's really a way of being. And I remember having the first reading I ever had actually was at an ashram. And it was by a tantric priest. So they use the they use that tantric that erotic energy, for want of a better word, when that's not channeled into a relationship, let's say, and a communing with another. Like the other path for that is the aesthetic. It's the adept. It's the swamis, the brahmacharyas. And it's channeling that energy into kind of cities and divinity and that kind of thing. So there's 2 different paths. And I was thinking, there's a lot of conversation at the moment with, toxic masculinity. And, it's interesting that Tantra has come up here because it reminds me, and it really was speaking to me very loudly. I was getting this message that you cannot have toxic masculinity without toxic femininity. Like, who's raising these? And it's not men versus women. Who's raising these people that have toxic masculinity in them? Women can have toxic masculinity in them. Men can have toxic masculinity in them. And every person in between on the spectrum can have toxic masculinity in them. And by virtue of that, they can also have toxic femininity in them. And I think there's a lot of mislabeling and hijacking of terms. Back to the tantric journey. A lot of people think Tantra and they only think of, what can I do with that in terms of the O or any of that kind of stuff, but it's just so much broader and so much bigger than that. And also in modern society, at least in my opinion, in kind of the age of Pisces, for example, and I'm here incarnate in the age of Pisces right now. Like, we've really devalued the path of the single person who may take a different path, who may choose not to be a family person, who may choose to be in the community as something else. And it seems to be only acceptable to be single if you take, kind of a religious path or something like that. But there's so much more to it than that. And I've been kind of doing a little bit of a dive into the Essenes, and that was something that was quite prevalent in the Essene community. It seems like they're learned people, and they weren't vilified. They weren't they weren't looked upon as being by enlightened people. And when I say enlightened people, I mean emotionally mature, wise people. I'm not saying that perfect people, because I'm hearing that NF sound. Perfect people don't exist, so don't pretend to be one. It's not about perfection. It's about, being the best that you can in harmony with the divine plan each step of the journey that we take. And a journey starts with a single step. And it actually reminds me of kind of how I first got into, I guess, the galactic and the galactic and the starseed kind of community. It was pure serendipity, actually. I happened to have a conversation with somebody, and they gifted me the Book of Ra. And I haven't even finished that, because that's like, I don't know, 40 hours or something of channeled information from Jim McCarthy and I forget the names of the people. Carla Rucker. Carla is the one who actually does the channeling. And what's so interesting about it is, and you can take it or you can leave it. It's not something, but it definitely was something that I looked into and I got curious about and started exploring a little bit. And one of the things that there's so many things. Several things struck me about this whole, and that was my first introduction to channeling outside of Abraham Hicks. And I didn't really, it took me a while of listening to Abraham Hicks to go that, oh, she's channeling something. And I didn't even know what channeling was when I got into it as well. So it's really, this pile is about the communion of within self before you can commune with another person. Is that holistic bringing together, integration of your light and your dark, your masculine and your feminine, and through purification. Where I did my yoga teacher training was Shivananda, and their mantra is serve, love, give, purify, meditate, realize. So it starts with service, and then there's love. And it's not that it's one step and you master one step and then you go on to the others. It's kind of like a hierarchy of energy in terms of purity is the way I want to put it. And what struck me in the raw contact was two things that I'm going to share now. So the first one that really struck me was like the precision, like how much time was spent in the channeling process, how much energy it literally took out of that person, the physical human body, to be able to bring these messages forth. The angles that things were at in the room with precision. So that precision is a big thing. And precision in the physical was kind of an unlocking our key, which is reminding me of all this sacred geometry. To the messages that could come through. And I have this, I'm seeing this person who is in a storm, like shouting, and somebody else shouting in a storm. Like when there's so much around you, that you can't hear. It's not that you're impure necessarily yourself, but if you're surrounded by impurity also, you can't connect with the other purity in the same way that you could if you were in a calm, serene space. And that ability to be able to calm our systems physically, calm our emotions, calm the sensations in our body, calm the thoughts that roam around and the negativities. And a lot of that comes from really back to know thyself, knowing your own physicality, knowing your own body, knowing your own energy will really help you know what's not yours. And the other thing that really struck me about the raw contact, I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. It'll come to me again. But anyway, that is the integration, the interplay. Really, our job is to purify our own energy, and we cannot successfully, in my opinion, come into a divine experience, a purified divine experience with another, unless it's too pure meeting too pure, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying perfect, and I'm not saying doesn't make mistakes. I'm saying that it's purified of other energies, if that makes sense. Kind of distilled, if to use a different kind of example for illustrative purposes. When you distill water, when you distill something, you're taking out the impurities. And what it's reminding me of as well is that, this is what I was going to say. So you often hear about people talking about how, that's just the way it is and everybody has to go through this. Well, they talk about psychology and the raw contact as well. And the information was like, we don't have to go to the depths of, we don't have to experience everything. There is kind of, I don't want to say a shortcut, but there is a more elevated way. You do not need to go down to the depths of wherever. The HELL place. And the HELL place is just, to me, is just amplified toxicity and being around toxic people. And what I mean by being around toxic people is people who haven't learned their own energy and have not got the wisdom to purify it. Because that in itself is wisdom to me. Because when you know enough about cause and effect, not supply and demand, but cause and effect. Opposites do attract, but that doesn't mean that that's good. Like a lot of that's more like supply and demand, scarcity, and creating almost an unhealthy need for something, like deficiency. Like we in the modern world have gotten to the state where we've moved away from abundance to scarcity. What better way to control a population than to have them so busy running around in scarcity, in their nervous system, in all these things where they cannot ascend. And that's really the path that the spiritual journey can offer. It doesn't mean that you're not going to go through poverty, but you learn that poverty, the true poverty, is poverty of the heart, poverty of the spirit, and you can have all the money in the world and still feel like complete horror. You can still feel guilty and shame and all these horrible things, and you can hardly have a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out, to borrow a phrase from home. but you can still feel the love that's around you. You can still feel, you can be in your own divine frequency and build from that place. And that's why I absolutely love the Tower card, because the Tower card for me is representative of, oh, I was building from toxicity, impurity, not perfection, because everything is divine and everything is perfect. And there's also that phrase that, you know, once you get halfway through a dark forest, you're already halfway out. But nobody said you have to go into the forest. And in psychology, sometimes you'll hear people in the, not necessarily psychology, but sometimes you'll hear people say, oh, well, you have to go through it to understand it. Well, you don't really have to go through it. You do have to go through it to understand it in one sense, but like, who says you have to understand toxicity? Maybe you can go straight, you can, I don't want to say bypass, but maybe you can just learn your lessons in a more positively aspected way. And that's what I believe quantum jumping is, and timeline jumping and purification. And in the raw contact, back to that, they were saying there's a really like this ability that you have to feel you have to really feel your feelings. And you do, but not in the sitting in the emotional and mental place of an extended, you have to alchemize them, you have to metabolize them, you have to look at the truth of them. But it doesn't mean that, you know, some people can have like a really quick recovery because they're able to metabolize and process, and they move themselves away from whatever the source was that was doing that to themselves. So once they have dealt with that and purified that they are not reintroducing that into their environment, into their mental thoughts, into their into the stuff that they're watching and listening to on social media. Once you've got it, you never go back, because you understand the value of having a pristine environment, of being pristine in your energy. And you learn that withdrawing from stimuli is actual true rest, is actually a way to get closer to the divine plan. And building from there, things can happen very, 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 very quickly. And that's when you can come into contact with, you know, people of a similar vibration. And if you have only ever been surrounded by toxicity, you don't know any different. Like, I always used to think that if you're, and I'm seeing that, you know, the opening of the Simpsons, and you know, Homer works in that plant where Mr. Burns is the owner. And when Marge is at the supermarket, there's like this little piece of toxic waste that falls out. But I always think that, like, you know, you're never going to build, if you build your home on a toxic waste dump, you're going to get sick. Your children are going to get sick. Your food is going to be contaminated. So this purification, and that's really coming out straight here. Look, Star of Fire. We have the cutting away here, and the cutting is reminiscent of air for me. And I remember thinking once that, like, there's something about fire is the most purifying, but there's also something about cutting. Like, it's just so final, it's so clean, it's so now. And these are very strong masculine energies. And then you have the feather in here. And the feather, again, always reminds me of, I think it's White Buffalo Woman, and also of Kuan Yin. So you've got that really, really strong feminine with the masculine. We all need to have both. So dolphin medicine. Dolphin, breathe with me. Breath of the divine. Manna of the universe. In oneness we entwine. Now that is just so beautiful. Dolphin speaks to us of the breath of life. The only thing that humans, that our physical existence cannot go with for any length of time, any extended length of time, is the breath. We can go without food and water and shelter for quite a while, but not the breath. Dolphin is the keeper of the sacred breath, and dolphin can go submerged and come up and take its breath and go back down, almost like a camel of the sea, I guess. And dolphin has this ability to, and I think this is true of whales as well. I always think that whales keep the have some very sacred function to keep the frequency of Mother Gaia going. But I'm digressing. Dolphin, before submerging, like it can hold its breath for a really long time and then go underwater and swim. And that makes that, I mean, if you think about meditation, a lot of meditators will say that you focus on the moment between the breath. You're not really focusing on the inhale and the exhale, but there's that moment in between. So the more you kind of get into it, the more nuance there is. And it's just, it is really, really beautiful. And if you think about it, there's a good, it's a underwater, like you can't see as clearly, you can't hear as clearly. So you've got that withdrawal, and you're really like, if you just even put your head under when you're in the tub or when you swim underwater, like you're in your own kind of world. So the dolphin, and you can almost feel and hear the rhythm of your own system going when you're swimming underwater. You can hear, you know, when you put, you know, those, when you put the conch shell up to your ears, and they say you can hear the ocean. You're really hearing your own body. That's what you're hearing. It's like another reminder to go within. And water is life, but obviously salt water is not something that humans can drink. Even though salt, you'll hear people say the salt of the earth to say something good about a good person, someone who's grounded. They're salt of the earth. It's a compliment. Salt is highly, highly, highly important. We need to have salt. And also, salt was it's a really good cleanser, actually. That's why if you jump in the ocean, you will feel completely refreshed, not only from the water, but also from the salt. And I'm hearing that phrase from what is her name? Eleanor Roosevelt. All the water in the world cannot drown me unless I let it in. So you can go into the depths of emotions, know your own rhythm, withdraw. Dolphin teaches us about the rhythm of our breath and the rhythm of the ocean, the rhythm of life. And there's a song. And the rhythm of life is a powerful thing. Feel a tingle in your fingers and a tingle in your feet. Rhythm in the bedroom, rhythm in the street. Yes, the rhythm of life is a powerful beat. I remember learning that in school when I was younger. And rhythm is really, really important. And there's actually I feel like it's reminding me of harmonics. And we're back again to frequency, the frequency of the tantric journey. Rhythm, heartbeat, rhythm. That's why I think music is so transcendent for so many people. It really taps us into a different kind of rhythm. It's a kind of magic. I'm hearing now, it's a kind of magic. I can't remember who sang that, but it's from back in the day. Oh, and all the music is coming forth right now in flooding through. So, and also if you're feeling, we talk about the what is it, the aerobic and anaerobic. They're different types of exercise. But how the breath goes through the body and into the cells is like, it's nuanced, but it's also very, very precisional, very precise. If you're having anxiety and you learn how to breathe in a way, you can change your feeling of anxiety to a feeling of calm very quickly. And you can help calm your mind by focusing on the breath, between the breath. If you are exercising your body so much that all you're focusing on is being able to breathe, you'll take yourself out of your head, stop all that mental chatter, and then that's when a lot of downloads, at least for me, can happen for a lot of people. So the story of Dolphin is, Dolphin was traveling the oceans one day as Grandmother Moon was weaving patterns of the tides. Grandmother Moon asked Dolphin to learn her rhythms so that he could open his female side to her silvery light. Dolphin began to swim the new rhythm of her tide weaving and learned to breathe in a new way. As Dolphin continued to use this new rhythm, he entered the dream time. This reality was a new and different place from the seas he had known. Dolphin came to discover underwater cities in the dream time and was given the gift of the primordial tongue. This new language was the sound language that was brought by Spider from the great star nation. So I'm hearing, the song I'm hearing now is Fernando by ABBA. There was something in the air that night. The stars were bright, Fernando. They were shining there for you and me, for liberty, Fernando. So when I was going through a dark night of the soul, I would hear that song all the time. And my star fam would really directed me to ABBA, actually. And they would direct me, they would give me peace. And my inner child and my inner self would really bring a lot of peace to me through music. And I've mentioned this a couple of times on my channel. I saw something with Alana Fairchild, who she was one of the creators of the deck that I love, the Journey of Love. And it was something, I'm paraphrasing now, but something along the lines of, and it was said that the soul was reluctant to incarnate until they knew they could dance. So the movement in our bodies is really important. The movement, and I'm seeing harmonics, frequency. This is what I wanted to kind of, what came to me this morning actually as I was out walking in the outside and in having, looking at the sky and having nature around me and just having my little dog interact with the surroundings. But love is, and I was listening to Dr. Ramani a couple of days ago where she was talking about in good faith. And we're back to that, misuse and hijacking of words. And in good faith and being surrounded by people who don't come in good faith. And she was saying that what often happens in, these, let's say she's the world's, one of the world's experts in narcissistic dynamics. But she was saying that one thing that happens very frequently is that the people who have been in a narcissistic relationship, and that's not everyone, and that's bringing me back to, you do not need to go through, like, it's not a rite of passage, it's not something that's destined, it's not something that we have to do. What better way to control a whole species, a whole population? There are dark forces that want us to be in these toxic interactions, so that we're not aware of our own light, so that we're not ascending, so that we're not creating our own power. Because think of the Matrix. Human beings became the power source. There are people that benefit. There are energies, there are entities that benefit from people being trapped in unhealthy dynamics. And I'm not just talking about relationships with other people. I'm talking about relationships with money. I'm talking about relationships with being with thought processes, being a good person, being the one who always takes the higher road. What does that even mean, taking the higher road? Putting on your wings and flying away sometimes. There is nothing benefic. There is nothing benevolent about enabling somebody else to mistreat you, in my opinion. There is nothing. And honestly, it's not just my opinion. That truth knows its own source. As I say that out loud, absolutely. And I believed for a long time, because you were taught in a lot of areas and in a lot of systems by the people who benefit from keeping you down, that me being lower, or that other people being subservient to some idea, to some tradition, to some hierarchical figure, whether it be a parent, a boss, a leader in a community, in a church, or something like that. All the things in a relationship. I cannot tell you the amount of relationships that I've witnessed that have been imbalanced and have been in and participated in, that I gave my power away because I wanted to be the one who took the higher road. Well, I have redefined what the higher road is for me. Girl, I put on my wings and I flew away, and you can do it too. And up here, it's not lonely. It's like, when you're kind of healed, where you're not looking back at them, wishing vengeance on them. You're like, you have a choice too. Fly with me. Come up. But when you're being dragged down by, I'm seeing crabs in a bucket now, not letting one leave and pulling them back down. When you're being pulled back down by people trying to shame you and guilt you into not elevating, there's nothing holy about that, and there's nothing divine by staying in it. It doesn't matter which side of a codependent relationship you're in, if you're in one. It doesn't matter. And we're back to this idea, what I was going to say from the raw contact. I learned that it was like that we don't have to stay in those negative cycles. Divinity is neutral. You're either in the frequency or you're not. It's like the laws of science. So water boils at 100 degrees. You can't boil water at 90 degrees and be pissed because the water's not boiling. You have to turn up the heat. It's as simple as that. You can't make that state change from water, liquid, into steam until it gets to a certain temperature. That's what frequency is. That's what purification is. That's what the process is. And if you stumble into some environment, and we talk about good karmas and bad karmas, and yes, all of that, like we accumulate, I like to think of them now as kind of like toxins almost. When we keep ingesting more toxins, we have to purify. And if you happen to have stumbled onto a way of doing it faster than somebody else, good for you. Like it doesn't mean that you're better than somebody else because you're purer. But you have the ability to learn wisdom at a much faster rate, and you have the ability to, teach the others. And the other thing that I learned about that I loved in the raw contact was that teach learn principle. And it's all about the law of one, but like their thing is, if one person learns from me, fine. Like they're not out here trying to save the world. Everyone has free will. And we've been talking a little bit about freedom on my channel recently as well, and what freedom is. Freedom is the highest form of love to me. is freedom. And what I mean by that is divine love. And you know, divine is the ultimate loving force because the divine gives us our free will. I respect your right to be a narcissist. I really do. I am not going to be anywhere near you. You can do it way over there with other people. And it's not my job to save anyone else at this point. If I have minor children, it is my job to love them, nurture them, and raise them. And when I get into reciprocal relationships, yay, it's up to me to show up to be me. But don't do it for me. Don't put it on me. And don't expect me to do it for you. Let's all get into our own highest and best version of ourselves as much as we can. And that's wisdom to me. That's soul evolution. That to me is what the spiritual path is about. And every stage on it, everything is divine. Every stage on it is legitimate. It doesn't mean that I need to be around your filthy legitimate boutte. That is the truth. And that's what they'll have you believe. They'll have you believe that you're a bad person because you have the wisdom to move away. And that's not bad because you can be doing so much good elsewhere. What is good about being stuck and making yourself sick? And the research is out now. Being in toxic relationships takes years off your life. And you can miss so many things. I'm going to pull some tarot for you, but who you're shadow boxing, pile number 1. I believe you've been around a lot of narcissistic people. So we've got the Gemini card, which is interesting because I'm just going to cover them up because they have a little bit of naked going on. Because Gemini is the people in your day-to-day. So I actually really relate to that. So this could be my pile as well. Also, I have Barney is I think it's just before Critica. So maybe I'm coming out of that and coming into this stage. I don't know. But this whole thing that I've been talking about, obviously, because I said I a lot in it, and I apologize. It's not all about me. I do recognize that. But everyone is the center of their own universe. And you know, everyone has the ability to tap into their own beauty and divinity. And everyone has the same 24 hours in the day. And divine timing. It is not a time on the clock. It is not this linear concept that we have come up with and said, you know, well, God is going to, you know, in 20 minutes, God is going to give you this, that, or the other. It's not about that. God loves us enough to give us the free will to make our own choices, and with our choices come the consequences of our actions. I know. Breakthrough concept. The consequences of our own actions. And God gives us that opportunity to make our mistakes, to go through our narcissistic phase, to be the a-hole in the room, to be the villain in somebody else's life. But we also get to be our own savior, our own parent, our own lover, our own whatever. And we have the 9 of Wands, so to put down our own burdens. So the choice is ours at all times, how we are going to show up in the cards that we're dealt. Yes, there's some element of fate and destiny, but there's a lot of wiggle room there. Neil Donald Walsh, his thing is, he says God says yes. God says yes, and so it is, and so it shall be. But we choose. And that is so empowering. And it's also terrifying when you realize sometimes some of the things that you've chosen, and you've put yourself in situations that if you had known differently, you would have behaved differently. To me, what is demonic is when you know, but you're benefiting in the worldly sense. Like, let's say you're getting stature, or you're getting money, or you're getting credit, or you're getting clout for knowingly taking advantage of someone else, or letting somebody else carry your burdens. That to me is what evil and demonic is. We've got 3 of Wands now, and that's waiting for the ships to come in and looking out. I believe in this card that you have left a lot of people, pile number 1, that would not be okay with you putting down their burdens. And in fact, they persecuted you for that. Bless their hearts. You know, when you've achieved that level, sufficient level of healing, or you've jumped a timeline, when you can actually put yourself back. It doesn't mean that you're not going to cry and you're not going to still feel pain, but you would never, ever, ever dream of doing unto them what they did to you. That's when you know that you've really, really ascended or transcended. Now we've got, I guess this is the Judgment card. Look at this, like wings of fire. Fire, fire, fire. Wings, wings, wings. Remember we were talking about taking the high road? Taking the high road? How beautiful is this? Oh, so gorgeous. And I love that this Lover's card is so, it's almost like the worldly version of the Judgment card. When you make right choices, look at what's available to you. And these people are naked, which is why they're covered. But that's representative to me of being pure of heart, being pure, having let go of all of the, and they're walking on cracked earth, because the fire of the divine is just so, it's the desert. And I'm hearing that song, Caramel by Corinne Bailey Rae, where she's talking about being in the desert. I'm trying to think of it now. There's nothing I could do to make it right, and there's nothing I could say to make the dark seem brighter. But here's the one that wishes, riding on a star. Here's the one that can make a fire from just a spark. Lure me out in the desert and call me home. We're all just walking each other home. This is the I guess the man and the woman and the child. So that's really signifying to me like the triad, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And then you can't write this stuff, guys. You've got the Empress. Or no, is this? Yeah, no, it's the Three of Cups. I'm sorry. But it reminds me of the Star card, actually. She's got the 2 cups that are overflowing, and the 3rd cup, she's offering it up to the divine. And we were talking about star family earlier. You're absolutely a star seed, pile number 1. No doubt about it. You've learned to harmonize and balance. 2 of Pentacles. And what you've learned to balance is as within, so without. You're like, I'm not doing this anymore. You can carry your own burdens. Touch your own jaguar. You're the Queen of Wands. Oh my goodness. So, so beautiful. And we've got the 5 of Wands here. You've left, and I'm seeing, this is reminding me of Mordor. You know, when they go to, you've left the battle. You've just left them to it. And you've been in a lot of grief. 3 of Swords, betrayal. But you're done with that, because this is the last card. You now see you're on the other side. And look, it's the shield now that's been stabbed, because you know that you're protected. You're protected by the light. You're protected by knowing your own rhythm, your own breath. And if you're not in a divine union, and that is something that appeals to you, and it may not, because if you've been around this type of people, you might be like, yeah, nah, not this lifetime. You might be like, I think I'm just going to go live in a cabin in the woods and I'll do my energy work and I will do my messages, or I will do whatever it is, or I'll make beautiful, beautiful products and infuse them with deliciousness, and I will put my energy out into the world and I'll just talk to the plants and the animals because like they don't do this. That could be you, or maybe that's a phase that you're going to, or maybe that's a phase that you've been through where you were just in, part of your purification and part of your journey, pile number one. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with like claiming your purification, claiming your purity. And it doesn't mean that you're looking down on anybody else who hasn't gotten to that stage yet. And maybe there was some serendipity involved. Like there's so much, like it's kind of like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, when you're around people who don't have the wisdom to understand that it's a frequency. It's literally just a frequency. And I used to work with this woman who used to say that like you can't tune into CNN, and she used to call CNN constantly negative news. You can't tune into CNN and expect to get the Discovery Channel. So we are all responsible for our own frequency. And this 42 is reminding me of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the guy, he built a computer to figure out what the answer, what's the answer to life, and the answer was 42. And then afterwards, he had to build another computer to figure out what the question was. So I always love that. But it also reminds me of, speaking of the dolphin and The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I read this book years and years ago that was called Last Chance to See. And it's actually, it's Stephen Fry and the guy who wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And they basically go around the world and they looked at species which are becoming more extinct. And actually recently I saw I think that Star Trek #4, the last one I think that had Leonard Nimoy, like the old school ones, it just came up on my feed. And I've been really on the whale kind of bandwagon recently. But this one came up on my feed, and it's the one where they go back in time, and it's, what's his name? William Shatner, who's now in his 90s. And remember, he went to space last year, and he played Captain Kirk, the original Captain Kirk. And I guess this movie was back in the 80s, but the story in this one is they traveled back in time, and they had to get some of the whales to bring them back to the future to be able to save the planet. But it's just interesting that all this stuff is coming up. But Last Chance to See, they go and they look at different animals that are becoming extinct. And they did make a documentary of it, or a movie of it or something, which really was not nearly as good as the book, I have to say. The book was brilliant. And I serendipitously came across it, when I was on my travels back in the day. But I have been talking for 100 million years. So I'm going to leave it there, pile number one. I was going to pull some starseed cards for you, but I've already been talking for nearly an hour, so I'm going to let you go. Feel free to put this on. I guess it's a bit late now, but I was going to say feel free to put this on double speed so that, you can get on with your life and being you. Bye, pile number one. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for stopping by. And if you like my content, please feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I am sending you so much love and so much joy and so much healing and so much just thank you for being here. So pile number two. Pile number two, you had the amethyst on the silver chain. So let's get into your reading, pile number two. Uttara Bhadrapada. So this is wholly and completely in Pisces, Hanged Man energy. Nice. Soul time. The frequency of soul time asks us to allow the possibility of a new reality to emerge, one that embraces the concept that while the corporeal body is mortal, the soul is timeless. Ooh, I love that for you. We were talking about divine timing in the last pile. So that's ringing true for you as well. Otter spirit number 8. Very nice. Ooh, interesting. And your these are vibrational energy cards, and you have got the end of days. Very good, pile number 2. I've been dropping cards on the floor. So Uttara Bhadrapada, you can see it is the sea serpent. And what I know about the sea serpent is that the sea serpent is playful, but also deadly. Or well, the sea snake. Today's sea snakes, like if you see them and you're out, if you're swimming, they'll come up and they'll play with you. But you have to be careful, because if you spook them and they bite you, they're actually quite deadly. I mean, when I say deadly, I don't know if they can kill you, but they definitely can hurt you. That's something to kind of maybe look into. But this nakshatra is associated with Saturn. So it's Saturn and Pisces energy. And it's the power to bring cosmic rain. And that's really reminding me of rain dance, shamanic qualities to it. And it's the ladder happy feet. And whenever I see happy feet, I'm always thinking of penguins as well. So I'm thinking of, and penguins only exist in the Southern Ocean, and sea serpent. So there's something about beneath the surface. Here you've got sacrifice, renunciation, seclusion, virtuous secrecy, empathy in action. So you may have been someone who has had to deal with a lot of Neptunian kind of energies, because and when I mean by Neptunian kind of energies, Neptune has the quality of making things seem better than they are. So maybe you had to go deep beneath, like really go deep underneath, to look at the truth of your emotions and the truth of your intuition. You might have had to really dive down to be able to really understand the reality of what is going on. And we've got a lot of like the end of days and the frequency of soul time here too as well. So the frequency of soul time asks us to allow the possibility of a new reality to emerge, one that embraces the concept that while this world is fleeting. And I'm hearing that that quote, do not build your kingdom in the world where that passes away, that biblical quote. So it's a real call to, and Pisces is it's the last sign of the zodiac. It's that dream space and dream time as well. That the 3D, and it's reminding me of that concept as well, that we actually live in a simulation. I don't really believe that we live in a simulation necessarily, but I can see the analogy, and I don't know how to say it. That analogy actually really does work very well for illustrative purposes. I mean, I don't think that it's a simulation. I think that we do actually manifest, and that, I learned in my yoga studies that the growth comes from the subtle, which makes sense because everything had to be a thought before it was before it became something on paper, before it materialized, before it became, and it's reminding me too of the, one of the guys in the behavior panel, he always goes, once is a pattern. Because by the time it's manifested, and especially when somebody does something nonchalantly, that's not an accident. Because think about it, when we do something for the first time, we're often gangly, or we're often awkward. We're often a bit kind of like, it doesn't seem to always flow naturally. And when somebody, and that phrase, practice makes perfect, or don't do it until you do it right. Do it until you can't do it wrong. So once is a pattern. Somebody who is so nonchalant about something, there's often a hidden practice in that, whether they're conscious of it or not, and a lot of people are. And that's bringing me to acting, actually. I remember reading this book years and years ago that was, I do read now as well, by the way. It's interesting. I'm at this time, I guess with Mercury retrograde, I've had a lot of stuff come up from the past, like the things that I had forgotten. And I always was somebody who really prized myself on like having a good memory. But what I'm realizing now is that I had very specific memories. And sometimes there was like a really strong, sometimes that was, those memories were cultivated by someone who wanted me to remember those things. And sometimes it was like there was an emotional, high or low around those things that actually kind of burned them into my aura, for want of a better word. And acting, I remember reading this book called Toughness Training for Mental Toughness Training for Athletes. And then there was another one, same author, who did Mental Toughness Training for Life. And they were talking about the ideal performance self, the IPS. And it was really talking about visualization and practicing, which is really prevalent in the, the life coach community and the athletic world, and obviously in the acting community as well. And one of the other guys on the behavior panel had said, real, like, good actors, they're not pretending, they're acting. So, and the difference being is that they actually feel it through their bodies. They feel it through their, like, they become the character for a period of time. And I remember noticing, let's say, people who I think are a very good actor. One of them, I think, is Cameron Diaz. I think she's a really good actress. And remember, she was in that movie. She was two of the movies she was in. That one with Tom Cruise, Vanilla Sky, where she's really in love with Tom Cruise in the movie. But to her, she's like the F buddy. And he really doesn't treat her right. Like, he treats her like an object. And then, like, she has, the story. And then in the other movie I was thinking about was My Best Friend's Wedding. And in that, she plays this beautiful, innocent, young girl who Julia Roberts, like, is just really mean to, and tries to break up the wedding and all that. But when you look at how she was done by JT, and how her love life played out in reality, it just really made me think, if I was to have a child who wanted to be an actor, I would teach them, and obviously they would learn, they would have to make their own choices and their own decisions. But, like, not every role that you choose is necessarily a good role for you. And there's that whole thing with the book Chaos, which I haven't read, but with the fall of Hollywood and the fall of the music scene and everything else. And I kept hearing this in the last few months, hijack the art, you hijack their hearts. Hijack the art, you hijack their hearts. And it wasn't hijack, it was like, take the art, take their hearts. If you've got their art, you've got their hearts. If you've got their art, you've got their hearts. If you've got their art, you've got their hearts. That's the concept. I can't remember the actual phrase, but basically it was art and heart. And if you look at it now, look at all of the information that's coming out about, especially people who are child stars, like how the industry just really used them and then kind of cast them away. And then there's a lot of information coming out about, some people who, were, Michael Jackson is one of them. And that he, there's a lot of information coming out about like how when somebody starts to stand up against the system, that they get discredited and they get, their lies get told about them, and they're not able to, and there's a lot of talk about certain artists being unalived as well. Some very prominent ones who were just kind of waking up to, I don't want to do this anymore, and look at all of the conservatorships and all that kind of things that are used to kind of keep people with vast amount of resources that become industries of their own accord, and look at who's benefiting from all of those kinds of things. So I think that what you've been shadowboxing, pile number 2, is illusions. I think that not only in your immediate circumstances, but probably on a macro level as well, knowing that just because something is being said at face value, that's not necessarily what's happening, to really look beyond the surface, to really go beneath what you were gaslit about, what you were projected on about, not only in your own intimate connections, but I really feel on a societal level for you. I'm getting a very macro feel for you. End of days, that's reminding me of Death is Only the Beginning, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Those kind of themes that, once we agree to incarnate, like death is only the beginning of another cycle. And, we've been taught to kind of think that when we pass, we go to heaven and that's it in some cultures. But then there's other cultures, and more the ancient cultures, they believed that you could extend your life for very long periods of time through cities and through magic, essentially through ritual. They believed in these esoteric powers. They believed in reincarnations. They believed in being able to go dream walking and go to the other side. So very, very ancient wisdom I'm getting from you, pile number 2. I'm feeling like either I would say that you're a starseed, and that you have had past lives, probably in Atlantis. You're very connected to other realms. We're back to that Neptunian dream time. I'm hearing dragon as well for you. So dragon magic might be something that's very prevalent for you. And if you think about it, this is all about the warrior star, the power to bring cosmic rain. Rain, it washes away. It washes away the debris. It washes away, and after the rain, that's when the rainbow comes. I think for you, pile number 2, you've really. You've come in with some sort of a mission in your community, in yourself, to be a lighthouse, to be a beacon of truth, of being someone who can cut through the illusions, who can see through the illusions, and who can know the truth of the frequency of truth. the frequency of truth. I feel like, it's very easy to get swept away in emotions. It's very easy to get swept away in conspiracy theories. And it's funny because I think it was Tucker Carlson recently saying something about, conspiracy theories are not that they're becoming true, but it's like the more information, the more conspiracy theories that you can have. But it's not just about like believing everything on the internet, or believing everything, because you have a lot of charlatans out there who will just take your money, who will want something from you, who will say, yes, I have the way. And oh my goodness, I'm just after remembering an interview that I saw recently with, that Twin Flame Universe. It was back to, like they showed snippets of some of the videos that it's a couple, but they showed snippets of some of the videos, and some of the things that they were saying was just like, oh wow. But then when you saw them kind of with their feet to the fire being questioned on some of these things, like they were really evasive and squirrely. And to be honest, the one who was the most squirrely was the person who was the most was the most, I know everything, I am whatever. And you'll actually often find that, when they say that when you stand up to a bully, that they're just you can watch it and make your own mind up. I'm not going to tell you what to think, but the body language and the difference between some of the videos and how they were coming across on the interview, and they were the ones who reached out and apparently was saying, it's time for us to tell our story. Because I know there's been either a Netflix documentary on them or something else. I've seen some of it, but I haven't seen all of it. But that kind of thing, when you have a lot of power over people who are hurting, and we're back to the emotions, like when you're somebody who profits off of other people's pain, and like some of the prices that they're charging as well, that's for if you have the money and it's relative to the income that you have, that it might make sense for you to spend XY on something. But if you are really struggling and all your money keeps going back into the organization that's supposed to be helping you, then maybe it's time to be like, well, is this a healthy relationship for me in this organization? If I'm a multi-millionaire and I'm spending, 5,000 on something, well, that's not really going to change my life in any significant way. It might be a stupid decision. It might be a great decision, but context matters, And I think you're someone who has been really probably having to shadow box your own delusions, because we all have them. Like we're all born into society, and whatever society we're in have certain things. No matter how healthy our family is, or no matter how healthy our community is, there are biases that build up, especially back to the behavior panel again. One of them says, the organism does what makes the organism successful. And I'm hearing that line from Dune as well, walk without rhythm and you won't attract the worm. So rhythm is really important, but you want to be doing something until you can't do it wrong. At the same time, you want to be doing that with the right things. I'm hearing concert pianists practice their scales every day. Athletes, they practice their drills. So the basics, you want to be good at the basic building blocks. But you want to know what those are, so that those are the things that you focus on. But also you want to be orienting that in the right direction, because if you're orienting it in a way that is devilish, which means to me, devil is lived backwards. Live, life is the light. towards the divine plan. If you're moving away from the divine plan and you're using your powers for evil, in other words, live backwards. If you're living away from the light, if you're going against the divine plan, that's not where a wise person, a wise energy wants to focus their attention. And you can, because again, we have free will. We all have free will. We all have free will, but with our free will comes the consequences of our actions. And that's karmas that we build up in this life and in the next life and in past lives. And we get a choice to make whatever decision we want to. And we also have to deal with the consequences and the karmas that we create as a result of that. And I remember learning that dharma is kind of the opposite of karma. And dharma is our divine purpose. Dharma is what we came here to what we, our purpose, our mission, and it doesn't mean that that's what I should do for a living necessarily. It's not really, that again, we're talking about, things being kind of hijacked. I think I was talking about that in pile 1 actually. But things being delusions, I want to say, or biases is a better kind of explanation. So let's go on to otter medicine, because we haven't talked about that yet. So otters so playful, coquettes by the stream, the medicine of woman, the realized dream. Long ago, if tribal woman were widowed, her sister would offer her own husband to the widow as a lover to keep her from drying up and not using her creative urges. This is otter medicine is an example of this. So otters are always on the move and very curious, and we're back to not being asleep, not doing things on automatic, not doing things doing things consciously, not doing things always from an unconscious. But remember, it's our subconscious that manifests. So what we want to be able to do is use our conscious mind, which is the rudder, to direct our energy into growing and expanding. And then as we build critical mass in a direction that is in harmony with our intuition, we're back to intuition, in harmony with the technologies. Dreamtime is a technology. In harmony with the divine plan, that's when we can really cut through the illusions, or we can really surf the waves of this beautiful life that we're given. It doesn't mean that it's going to be free of pain. It doesn't mean that it's always going to feel nice. It doesn't mean that it's always going to be pleasant things, or things that we're told are pleasant. Like I'm always thinking about rest and relaxation. And an example of how a bias, for example, like we're kind of trained to believe that entertainment, which is, kind of overstimulation with, whether it be, good foods, maybe not good foods, but foods that we think taste nice because maybe we have just never had good foods, alcohol, all sorts of things, just basically giving over sensationalizing, over stimulating the senses of the body, like nightclubs, boom, 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 boom. I'm not saying never have rich food, never go to a nightclub, but when something is in excess all the time, like you don't get that detoxification, you don't get that purification, you don't get that peace in your different bodies, in your emotional body, in your physical body, in your mental body, in your auric field, and then you manifest from that place. So Otter teaches us to be really curious and to be really, really playful. Otter also won't start a fight unless it's under attack. It's really significant of the of joy. So that ability, like, you know, when you're in a good place, when like you can just take a breath and close your eyes and just feel the love that's around you. And that's not something that your mind can tell you how to do. Yeah, it's good to be able to train your mind, but that's way to get to that frequency, to get to that place is like the law of vibration. Everything is a vibration. Everything that we see and touch is some version of vibration. Matter is just really dense vibration. Everything is a frequency. Absolutely everything. Sound, light, the basic, the most purest form of life, of existence, is the photon. It's not an electron or an atom, it's a photon. Light is, everything is come of the light. Even sound is of the light. Everything is in waves, everything is in rhythm, everything is in sacred geometry. And music is math. And when we learn how to flow and dance and play, because play teaches us survival skills, social skills, and it teaches how to get into a frequency with the divine. That is our nature is love. We were born of the divine love. And that is what, the likes of Mother Mary, the Essenes were trying to teach us. And those ancient, more obviously, I'm hearing that phrase again. Ultimate power corrupts, and power corrupts ultimately. Power doesn't always corrupt ultimately. There are plenty who just don't. They're beyond that. Jesus was beyond that. Kuan Yin was beyond that. Bodhisattva, they had the wisdom to be able to transcend the earthly plane, and that's back to the soul time card. They understood the power of vibration, the power of frequency, and they were able to create miracles. We've got the strength card, Leo. Ace of Earth, that's the Ace of Pentacles. I'm getting, still very shamanic vibes for you. 5 of Swords. Oh, defeat. No, this is 5 of Earth, I think. You've got the Sun, more Leo energy, or more Sun energy. Daughter of Earth, Pentacles. So we're getting a lot of like fire and earth for you. This is, and it's interesting that your card is water. The Moon. Oh my God, look at you've got the Sun and the Moon. Wow. This is the 3 of Wands, exploration. And the 3 of Earth. Yeah, this is the 5 of Swords. Unwinnable situation. And it's the Spider. This is the New Elements Tarot pile number 2. So your strength has come from mastering your emotions, mastering your mental space. And I believe that you've done that through really following your heart. Leo rules over the heart. Being in your own frequency. And letting the earthly, like we've got Ace of Pentacles here. So starting with a pentacle, starting with something small and building from that place, building from the heart, end of days, knowing that it's going to pass away, being careful to be curious, being careful to be not consuming yourself with kind of trying to outdo somebody else. I feel like you've been in your own world. And that's also, again, renunciation, seclusion. I think that you've been very inwardly focused this lifetime. And I think that what you've had to do is really, and maybe you went through a phase maybe you went through a phase, or maybe in your early life you were kind of had people all trying to pull you out of that a lot. And by going back to the basics, by just focusing on what you wanted, because you realized that kind of trying to please everybody was completely a self-defeating prophecy, that you could never, it was an unwinnable situation. You could never feel yourself. You could never feel happy. This is the Page of Pentacles, the daughter of Earth. You could never, and the moon is again this intuition, dream time. You could never fulfill your own hopes and dreams. Your ships were never going to come in. You were never going to be around the right people if you couldn't cut through the illusions, and you had to go on your own soul journey. Maybe you were someone who was ridiculed for being up in the clouds or being away with the fairies or that kind of thing, and you could have been. Maybe you were really good at, astral projecting and remote viewing when you were younger, and just, we lost that knowledge. A lot, if you grew up in the Western world, a lot of that was lost. I know in my family, like if you did not, my dad used to say all the time that you can't argue with science, and of course that just cracks me up, because science is changing all the time. And I think it was Einstein who said that the more I learn about science, the more I become spiritual, or the more I get in touch, because you realize the limits of science. And now I'm hearing that Fantasia has no borders. So you might have been somebody who, was really into fairy tales and really, but maybe you really didn't know until you did that this stuff was real. I know when I was a teenager, for example, like my brother and I used to watch a lot of horror movies, and I cannot watch them now. And one of the reasons I cannot watch them now, and I could then, is because I guess I didn't believe in that stuff when I was younger. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I believed everything that's in a horror movie, but I have seen life now. I have seen what being around deluded people, believing your own delusions, believing other people's delusions, like how much damage it can wreak, not only on your own self, but on the people that you claim to love. So I feel like you've had to learn how to get grounded, to come to really tap into your strength and into your own essence, to really be in your own to be in your own rhythm, to be in your own frequency. I think you have a beautiful, beautiful frequency. I think people love being around you. You're very playful. You don't fight with people, but I think if people come at you, you've learned that you have had to be your own kind of lioness, be your own Aslan, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And I'm just really seeing that for you as being what you've had to learn how to shadow box. Delusion. Delulu, not only yours, society's, others. And I'm going to leave it there. Pile number 2. So if you like my content, please feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I hope to see you again at another reading, pile number 2. And I am going to get into pile number 1, or pile number 3. My goodness, because we're not going backwards, even though that is fun to go backwards. But we're not doing that right now. So pile number 3, you had this beautiful black pearl ring with a melted heart. This ring was a gift to me from my grandmama, actually. And I love it. So let's get in with your nakshatra card. Okay, you've got Chitra, Virgo into Libra. Compassion. The frequency of compassion supports our ability to stand by others without judgment and to be the divine mediator between heaven and earth, spirit and matter, so that unconditional love can flow from source through our heart and into the world. I'm sensing a recovering people pleaser here. Ooh, salmon. Card number 49. And, oh, fairy ring. Beautiful. Oh, gorgeous. Okay. Oh, I'm feeling such a sweet energy from you, pile number 3. Excuse me. We have got the Star of Opportunity, the power to accumulate merit, mild, tender, architecture, creation. I'm getting, we had heaven and earth here, spirit and matter. But spirit and matter to me kind of echoes spirit and matter. I'm getting masculine and feminine too. Female, fire, farmer. Very, very beautiful. And salmon is reminding me of the salmon of knowledge. That's, I forget what the actual, it'll come to me, the actual tale, but it's a Celtic tale where there was the salmon of knowledge and the guy was cooking it for his master, but he accidentally burnt his thumb on the fish, and he licked it to bring it some peace, but he got all the knowledge, and his master was none too pleased. Salmon, keeper of the inner knowing, illuminate all that I can see, fill me with the love of learning, life's sacred wisdom offered to me. If salmon swam into your cards today, it may be telling you to trust your gut feeling and your inner knowing at this time. Excuse me, pile number 3. Avoid the influence of those who may have hidden agendas or who manipulate events for their personal gain. Salmon medicine honors every encounter in life as a gathering of wisdom. It teaches that even when the flow of life seems to push you back, you can tap the hidden resources of your human spirit and personal inner knowing. The journey may not have been an easy one, and the currents of public opinion may not be in your favor, but you can choose to honor the wisdom you carry instinctually and do what is right. So you might be someone who has been called to swim against the current this life. Pile number 3. That might be something that you have been working on. Kind of standing in your own power. We talked a lot about this actually in pile number 2. So who or what energies are you shadow boxing? I feel like you may have been surrounded by people who wanted you to go a different way. So maybe just, kind of singing your own tune, singing your own song. Not literally, but you know what I mean, figuratively. Could have been something that was really something that you've been called to do this lifetime. And it makes sense, with Chitra, because Chitra is associated with Mars, and part of it can be found in Virgo. But it's Virgo and Libra. And in the Virgo part, we have kind of a Mars-Mercury combination. And you could say there's kind of a passionate curiosity. Virgo likes to take things apart, and then Mars would be the passion part. And Virgo likes the details as well. So You could be somebody that likes to kind of understand how things work. That could really, you know, make you tick. And then on the Libra side, we have Mars and Venus, because Libra is ruled by Venus. So it could be, and Venus, Libra is the higher octave of Venus. So more on a kind of either collective level, or, you know, I'm thinking museums, fine art, that kind of thing. A prominent Chitra in birth chart gives people a real opportunity to become designers and architects. So maybe more that than, you know, kind of more kind of precisional, I guess. I'm getting more Atlantis than sensual, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I feel like it's just, it's more distilled or more pristine, and the colors are really sticking out to me as well. Even though it's there's a child here and it's green, and we've got a lot of green here for the heart chakra, and we've got this almost the brilliant one, but it's almost like a lime green, so it's not quite, for me, that's kind of moving almost, how do I want to put it? Yeah, it's kind of moving from kind of the personal heart chakra to kind of being almost an expression of the heart chakra for society. Even though, like, not one is better than the other, it's just kind of a different expression of it. If that makes sense. I don't know if I'm making sense, but that's okay. And here you can see in the fairy ring, we've got sacred geometry around her, and she's dancing. And she is communing, and she's got all these orbs around her. I mean, her literally walking on the ground. She is in the woods. I feel like she's walking, you know, she is, whether she is fairy or not, well, I'm sure she is. But I feel like you're like, it's like natural architect is what I'm trying to say. Like that which cannot be seen, like that sacred geometry, the geometry of the heart, of the higher heart. And the turquoise is about the higher heart. And it's also reminding me of Kuan Yin. Kuan Yin is the goddess of compassion. And Kuan Yin was Bodhisattva. She transcended the need for having the body. So I feel like your mission, your purpose, is kind of a Venusian expression, but for the planet. So I'm feeling like Mother Gaia, architecture. I feel like that you're probably a star seed. You've probably had past lives in Atlantis as well. And then life architecture, and just knowing how to put the building blocks of energy. An energetic architect is what I'm getting for you. Whether you are an architect in, and I'm not saying that everybody who's coming, that's not what I'm just using the architect because of this card as an example or an illustration. But your architecture is energetic. I don't know, you could be doing anything in the world, but no matter what you're doing, there's a precision, there's a design that is kind of emanating from your auric field. And the more that you purify your energy, and the more that you come into the truth, and the more that you allow yourself to be a channel for divine love, for unconditional love, which basically to me is literally just allowing other people to have their sovereignty, and allowing other people to make their choices, and deciding who you want to be around, and being around those that support your choices. So I think in that, like, you're an architecture of how to live life. You know how they say you have, you know, the life coaches, they'll teach you how to, they'll kind of facilitate, they'll be a mirror for you, I guess. Psychology is another, like having a therapist is another kind of version of that, where they'll help you with the psychology piece. They'll be a mirror for you. But ultimately, you are the architect. You are the co-creator. You're the one who needs to make the decision. You're the one who, no one can feel your feelings for you, think your thoughts for you. No one can live your life for you. No one can do your exercise for you. No one can do your pull-ups for you. No one can do anything. You can have all the coaches in the world, And still, if you don't get off your bootay and put this stuff into action, like all of it's just in the ethers, it's potential, and potential has to be realized in order to kind of build something in this world. And I think that you're really good at not only the architectural piece, but also realizing the architecture that is you, if that makes sense. The deity here is Vishwakarma, and it literally means doer. So it's that kind of like as above, so below, between heaven and earth. So it's like grounding that, and we're back to grounding here in Mother Earth Gaia. It's grounding that architecture from the conceptual into the 3D, and building a life that is one that is soft and tender, but it doesn't mean not strong. Soft and tender, in order to be soft and tender, you need to know that you can protect yourself, and you need to know that what you have is of value, and you need to be able to value others, and you need to be able to protect those that that need protection, like the vulnerable, small children, for example, if you're a parent, that kind of thing. In the ancient Vedas, he's described as Swayambhu, or unborn of himself, which makes sense. He's literally the doer, the maker of the universe. And then you've got this multifaceted jewel here as well, which is interesting, because what I'm seeing is that, like, as this architect and builder of your life, which is your dharma, your karma, to do it in harmony with the divine, I'm seeing like all the different facets of it, like you're being a mirror for so many people at the same time. So I think who you're shadow boxing is this idea of almost having kind of like a checklist of how life is done. Kind of those, let's say, helicopter parents who have your life planned out from you, for example, from the day that you're born. And they want you to go, and obviously it's their responsibility to send you to school and to make sure that you get educated, and that you have the life skills to be able to form relationships with healthy people, to be able to protect yourself, feed yourself, earn money so that you can pay your bills, and so on and so on and so on and so forth. And also to be a spiritually whole human being. And I think that you may have had, let's say, leaders, whether it be parents, teachers, coaches, bosses, that had a certain plan for you, but you were like, yeah, not for me. And you may have entered into, like, let's say you were born into the royal family, for example. And let's say that you were, if Prince William, for example, decided that he didn't want to be king, he could abdicate, but it would be tough and it would be hard. And he was trained from day one to be king, and his eldest son now will be the same. And I'm not saying that that's right, wrong, or indifferent, but there may be someone who comes along, and that's not actually, they may come into that position and it may not be for them. And for them, in order to go against that, for example, would take an enormous amount of, they would need to know their own architecture. They would need to be able to ground it down, and to be able to do that in a loving way, where it's not, where you don't destroy yourself in the process, where you can build something that's beautiful and different, unless it does need to be destroyed. I'm not saying anything. I'm just using the royal family as an example. But that's kind of what I think that you're shadow boxing. You're shadow boxing other people's expectations and the biases that were placed on you of how you should live. Now, and that would also show up in what you should live. So we'll pull some, can't write this, Queen of Pentacles. We'll pull some tarot for you. Queen of Pentacles. So again, I'm thinking also, for example, as the Queen of Pentacles comes out, maybe you're a female and maybe in your family, like only, like if you decided not to have children, for example, Hierophant talks directly to God. And also Hierophant is associated with Taurus, Venus, and May. Page of Swords. 10 of Wands. So in a lot of societies, a lot of families, women are expected to carry certain burdens. Men are expected to carry certain burdens. And maybe you were like, nah, not for me. 9 of Wands. And look at how battered and bruised he's feeling. And he's looking back at those wands. The Emperor. Wow. The Empress. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. The Hierophant, the Emperor, and the Empress. Wow. Pile number 3. Maybe you were. Maybe you are. I don't know. Maybe Prince William or Catherine's watching this. I'm just kidding. Oh my goodness. And one more. Oh, 10 of Swords. Okay. So, and I'm seeing the black is echoed here. And it's reminding me of that only through the darkness can we see our own light. It's reminding me of that, you know, it's the negative space is important. The negative space, like it's only by having that negative space, like the white space, that we can see the words on the page. I think that you are that negative space. You are that light in the dark. So I'm nearly surprised that the star didn't come out for you, pile number 3. I think that you could very well be Bodhisattva incarnate. I think you have access to all of the realms. I think you have incredibly, just like as you walk on the earth, you are... And you know the movie Big, Tom Hanks back in the day when he was like 12 years, I'm joking, he was like 22. But in it he becomes he turns into this little boy, but he's in the store, and he is they have those pianos, the keyboard that's on the ground, and he's dancing on that and creating a song. But I'm seeing that for you as you walk on the earth. Like I'm hearing organ music. I'm seeing like sacred, every breath you take and every step you take and every move that you make with your hands and your arms. Like there's sacred geometry just like emanating from you everywhere. I don't know who you are, pile number 3, but you're pretty incredible. And I don't know if you know that. Like you have had some painful endings. You've had to walk away. You've been carrying burdens. I'm just seeing... God has sent thee for a pack animal. That's a line from Garrison Keillor's short story, Alaska. And it's like, I can't even get a copy of it anymore. But you're not anyone's pack animal. If you're anyone's pack animal, you're God's pack animal. And God would never do that to you. And, you know, you learned to realize that carrying other people's burdens just got you battered and bruised. And you weren't in your, like... your freedom state to deliver and to walk your knowledge through the world, because people were just feeding off of you. And I'm just seeing Neo just waking up in you know, when he wakes up after he takes he took the red pill, I think. But when he wakes up and he's sitting up and he's looking out and he's seeing where he is. And another line from that Alaska story is like, you know, I was chopping wood and I cut myself chopping wood, and I lost so much blood that my eyes cleared up and I saw clearly where I was and what I was doing. I think that you were just so burdened by other people's stuff that you just didn't have the clarity to see your own beauty and your own light. I do not know if you met somebody who was able to reflect that back to you, and who was able to be your divine counterpart, because the emperor and the empress are divine counterparts, and they have mastered the earthly. But the Hierophant talks directly to God. The Hierophant is I'm going to say transcended the emperor, not better than, but transcended. It's like it's a more elevated, a more pure version of the energy, a more refined energy. It's the emperor, and it doesn't mean better. It's not about being better. Kuan Yin's father was an emperor, and she transcended her body. She gave him of a pure heart her eyes and her hands to heal his worldly body, because she was able to do her work. She understood the work that she was doing. She had the wisdom to know that that her body was of the world that passed away, not of. And if God was calling her to do that, she was happy to do that. It's reminding me of Saint Bridget as well. This is really reminding me of Saint Bridget. Kuan Yin and compassion really reminds me of Saint Bridget. And Saint Bridget also knew that if it was of divinity, like the story goes is that they both of their fathers wanted to sell them off as wives. And again, we have that. No, they knew from a very early age that they were the Hierophant in their incarnation, that their path was with the divine. Their path was one of devotion. I'm hearing bhakti. I think your whatever it is, whether you are married, whether you are not married, whether you're in relationship, whether you're sitting on a mountain, whatever it is that you know to be true for you is what your shadow is what you have had to shadow box this incarnation. It is you coming home to your own frequency. I am just so filled with just, it's just, it feels so satisfying to be in your energy. It feels so at home to be in your energy. And I wonder if that's the feeling that you have when you have cleared away the expectations of others, and when you really feel that connection to, and no matter what it is, whether you choose to be in community, whether you choose to be nomadic, whether you choose to be an adept in a monastery, whatever it is, you know it to be true for you. And it could evolve over different stages of your life too. But when you're in that sweet spot of, yes, connection, whether it's expressing art, expressing your truth, having your hand in the earth, whatever it is for you that you have created. And I feel like with the Ten of Swords also, I'm also feeling that you're very, very good at endings, cycles. You have learned to let the life be cyclical. You have learned that sometimes burdens have to be carried, but you're willing to carry your own burdens now. And you're not willing to carry the burdens of others because they don't get the wisdom. They don't get the wisdom if you do your work for them. So I think we said recovering people pleaser at the start. I can't remember if that was pile 2 or pile 3. Also for you, pile number 1, I'm hearing the song Love in the Dark by Jessie Reyez. It's just so beautiful. And it's, we're only humans floating on a rock, but I think that you were made of stardust. Unconditional love. Unconditional, you put up with so much. I can never repay the way that you love. Back to the sky, we all have to fly back home. Back home. The sweetest goodbyes are never with smiles at all. But when our lives are running out and your heartbeat has taken the draw, Could you try to look around? I'll be there to pull you back up. I'll be around. I'm nothing without you. I won't leave you alone. Because when the stars are falling down, there's love in the dark. Woo! Oh my gosh. I just feel like so much. I'm feeling like just this immense, it's a warm, cozy night, black velvet, just being loved. Your energy is just so rich and so sensual and so beautiful. And I'm feeling very strong Venus, but at a really high level. I'm going to pull some more cards for you, pile number 3. You're, wow. You're so wise and you're so pure. You're so loving and you're so strong. And there's such clarity and pristine beauty around you. And we've got, of course, Empress is Venus as well. So we've got Venus and Aries. Wow. Oh my God. And didn't we talk heaven and earth? And I'm hearing that Belinda Carlisle song as well. Ooh, baby, do you know what it's worth? You make heaven a place on earth. So beautiful, pile number 3. Expression. Authentic expression. Words are powerful truth. Surrender. And the unicorn only shows itself to the pure of heart. And these, for me, dolphins are galactic beings. Cosmic circles. Create sacred space. Embrace unlimited possibilities. I would be really shocked if you were not a starseed. I think you're really adept at, whether you know it or not, dream time. I feel like you're a walking, talking shaman. You're a walking, talking indigo child. You're a walking, talking starseed. I have nothing more for you, pile number 3. Your energy is so beautiful. Recognizing the reality of who you are and grounding that into this planet. I am sending you so much love and light, pile number 3. You have melted my heart. Thank you for spending some time with me. I am wishing you such love and such light, and I hope to hang out with you again sometime. Take care, pile number 3. If you like my content, please feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Much love. Bye.